Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a small boy sleeping in a poor house at the edge of Buenos Aires. The roof above him is made of thin metal. When rain falls, the sound is loud. When the wind blows, the walls shake a little. Outside, the road is not made of stone. It is only dirt. In summer, dust rises from it. In winter, it becomes mud. Inside the house, there is not much food. There is not much money. There are many children, and every day is a fight to survive. But the boy is holding something in his arms. It is not gold. It is not a toy car. It is not a rich child's gift. It is a football, a real leather football. He holds it close to his chest as if the ball might run away during the night. He sleeps beside it the way other children sleep beside a favorite blanket. To him, this ball is not only a ball, it is a dream. It is a friend. It is a door to another life. That boy's name is Diego Armando Maradona. One day, millions of people will shout his name. One day, a city in Italy will paint his face on walls and pray to him like a saint. One day, Argentina will look at him and see not just a footballer, but a symbol of hope, anger, pride, and impossible beauty. But here is the truth. Diego Maradona was never only a hero. He was also a wounded man. He was magic and chaos. He was joy and pain. He was the hand that cheated and the feet that created the most beautiful goal in World Cup history. This is not only a football story. This is the story of a boy who had almost nothing, but believed one ball could become everything. This is the story of Maradona. Diego Armando Maradona was born on October 30th, 1960 in Argentina. His early home was Villa Fiorito, a poor neighborhood on the southern edge of Buenos Aires. At that time, Villa Fiorito was a place the rich parts of the city often tried not to see. The streets were rough. Many roads were not paved. Clean water was not always easy to find. Houses were small, crowded, and fragile. Families worked hard, but hard work did not always bring enough food. Diego was the fifth of 8 children. His father worked in a factory and took difficult jobs to support the family. His mother, Dalma, held the home together with love, patience, and quiet sacrifice. Years later, Diego remembered something that never left him. When food was short, his mother sometimes said her stomach hurt. She said she did not want to eat. But Diego later understood the truth. She was not sick. She was hungry. She was giving her food to her children. That kind of love can build a person. It can also leave a deep mark. Diego grew up knowing what hunger felt like. He knew what it meant to be small in a world that did not care about small people. But he also knew love. He knew the sound of family voices. He knew the strength of a mother who would rather suffer than see her children suffer. Then, when Diego was 3 years old, something happened. A cousin gave him a leather football. For many children, it would be only a birthday gift. For Diego, it was the beginning of everything. That first night, he slept with the ball in his arms. He did not want to put it down. From that moment, the ball became his language. Before he became famous, before the stadiums, before the cameras, before the songs and the murals, there was only a small boy and a ball. In the streets of Villa Fiorito, Diego played for hours. There were no perfect green fields. There were no expensive boots. There were dirt roads, broken spaces, and other children who loved the game. The ball jumped badly on the ground, but Diego learned to control it. The surface was hard, but he learned balance. Opponents were bigger, but he learned to protect the ball with his body. He was short. He was strong. He had thick, messy hair. People called him Pelusa, which means fluff or fuzz. It was a sweet nickname, but when he played, there was nothing soft about him. Even as a child, Diego moved differently. The ball seemed tied to his left foot. He could turn quickly, stop suddenly, and run again before the defender understood what had happened. He did not look like a normal child learning football. He looked like someone who had been born with the game already inside him. At around 10 years old, he joined a famous youth team called Los Cebollitas, or the Little Onions. The name sounded funny, but the football was serious. With Diego, the team became almost unbeatable. They went on an incredible run, often remembered as 140 matches without a loss. Crowds began to notice him. During halftime at professional matches, people stayed in their seats to watch a tiny boy juggle the ball. Imagine that scene. Thousands of adults in a football stadium, waiting not for the stars, but for a child. He would keep the ball in the air again and again. Left foot, right foot, knee, shoulder, head. The ball obeyed him. The coaches could hardly believe it. Some even wanted to check his identity papers. They thought he might be older than he said. How could a child move like that? How could a boy from a poor neighborhood have such confidence, such rhythm, such control? But Diego was real. He was small, poor, and already touched by greatness. Soon, people began to whisper that he might save Argentine football. That is a heavy sentence to place on a child, but football countries often search for heroes early. Argentina had produced great players before him, but Diego felt different. He played with the anger of the streets and the imagination of a dreamer. He did not simply want to win. He wanted to express something. Every touch of the ball said, "Look at me. I am here. We are here. Do not forget us." But before glory came, Diego would learn one of the hardest lessons of his life. He would learn that talent does not protect you from pain. In 1978, Argentina hosted the FIFA World Cup. For the country, it was a huge event. For Diego, it was the dream of dreams. He was only 17, but he had already played for Argentina's national team. He believed with all his heart that he could help his country. He trained. He hoped. He imagined wearing the blue and white shirt in front of his own people. At first, he was included in the wider group of players. He was close, so close that he could almost feel the World Cup grass under his boots. But then, the final decision came. The coach, Cesar Luis Menotti, decided that Diego was too young, too small, not ready for the weight of a whole nation. Maradona was cut from the final squad. A journalist later remembered seeing Diego after the news. The young player was sitting alone near a tree, crying in the dark. Think about that image. Not the football god, not the world champion, not the man whose face would one day cover the walls of Naples. Just a 17-year-old boy, alone, with his dream broken. The journalist tried to comfort him. He told Diego that he was young and that many World Cups would come. But Diego could only think about one thing. How do I tell my father? That question shows us something important about him. He was not only crying because he had lost a chance, he was crying because he felt he had disappointed the people who loved him. He wanted to lift his family. He wanted to prove that all the hunger, all the sacrifice, all the hard days had meaning. Then, Argentina won the World Cup without him. The streets filled with joy. People danced, shouted, and cried. The country celebrated. But Diego watched from the outside. His country had reached the top, and he was not part of it. That wound became a fire. Years later, Diego explained that anger became a kind of fuel. He decided he would never be ignored again. He would make himself impossible to leave out. In 1979, he did exactly that. He led Argentina's youth team to victory in the FIFA World Youth Championship. He was named the best player of the tournament. The boy who had cried by the tree had answered with football. Soon he became a star in Argentina. He played for Argentinos Juniors and then Boca Juniors, one of the most famous clubs in South America. The stadiums grew louder. The pressure grew heavier. Every match was another test. Every touch was watched. For many players, fame comes slowly. For Diego, fame came like a storm. He was still young, but already people wanted him to be perfect. They wanted him to be brave, brilliant, loyal, humble, strong, and magical every week. But Diego was not built like a machine. He was emotional. He was proud. He loved deeply and reacted quickly. In 1982, he finally played in a World Cup. The tournament was held in Spain. This was supposed to be his moment. He was no longer the child left behind in 1978. He was a man now, and the world was ready to see him. But World Cup dreams are never simple. Opponents knew he was dangerous. They kicked him, pushed him, and provoked him. They tried to break his rhythm and his patience. Diego kept fighting, but inside him, the fire could also become danger. In a painful match against Brazil, Argentina was struggling. Brazil were strong, elegant, and confident. Diego was frustrated. The match slipped away. Then, in anger, he kicked an opponent. The referee showed him a red card. He left the field in shame. For the world, this was the first clear view of the other side of Maradona. He was not only genius. He had a temper. He could be reckless. He could hurt himself with his own pride. Some people wanted heroes to be clean and simple. Diego was never simple. He was a genius, but not a saint. And strangely, that was one reason people loved him. He did not pretend to be above life. He played like someone from the street because he was from the street. He carried beauty and danger in the same body. After Spain, Diego's career moved to Europe. He joined Barcelona, but his time there was difficult. There were injuries, pressure, illness, and conflict. The talent was clear, but the peace was missing. Then, in 1984, a call came from southern Italy. A club called Napoli wanted him. At first, it sounded strange. Napoli was not the richest club. It had never won the Italian league. It lived in the shadow of the powerful northern teams. Juventus, Milan, and Inter had money, history, and influence. Napoli had passion, noise, and pain. But perhaps that is why Diego belonged there. Naples was a city often mocked by the richer north of Italy. People called it poor, dirty, backward. The city felt forgotten and judged. Its people were proud, but they were tired of being treated as less. Then, Maradona arrived. On the day he was presented at the stadium, around 75,000 people came just to see him. Not to watch a match, not to see a trophy, just to see a small man hold up a blue shirt. Why did they come? Because they saw themselves in him. He was poor. He was small. He had been looked down on. He had fought against bigger powers his whole life. Diego understood Naples. Naples understood Diego. And together, they were about to change football history. At Napoli, Maradona became more than a player. He became a promise. Every time he stepped onto the field, the city watched with its heart open. The people did not only want goals, they wanted dignity. They wanted proof that the poor South could defeat the rich North. They wanted the world to see them. Diego gave them that. He trained, played, fought, and created. He was surrounded by defenders, but he found spaces that did not seem to exist. His left foot could pass like a whisper and shoot like thunder. He could slow a match down, then suddenly explode. In Naples, football became theater, religion, and rebellion. Then, in 1987, the impossible happened. Napoli won Serie A for the first time in the club's history. The city went wild. People filled the streets. Fireworks lit the night. Strangers hugged each other. Some cried as if they had seen a miracle. In cemeteries, fans even left messages for the dead, telling them they did not know what they had missed. It was not only a football title, it was a social earthquake. For years, the South had been laughed at by the North. Now, Napoli had beaten the giants. And at the center of it all stood Diego Maradona, the poor boy from Villa Fiorito, wearing blue. He later helped Napoli win another league title in 1990, along with other trophies. But the first title in 1987 was special. It changed the feeling of a city. It gave people their pride back. Even today, if you walk through Naples, you can see his face on walls. Some murals show him like a saint. Some show him like an angel. Some show him like a god watching over the city. But before the second Napoli title, the entire world saw Maradona at his highest. The year was 1986. The place was Mexico. The tournament was the FIFA World Cup. Argentina reached the quarter-final, and their opponent was England. This match was never only sport. Just 4 years earlier, Argentina and Britain had fought the Falklands War. Many young Argentine soldiers had died. The pain was still fresh. The politics were heavy. The emotions were dangerous. When Argentina and England walked onto the field, the air felt full of history. For almost an hour, the match was tense. The score was 0-0. Every pass felt important. Every challenge felt personal. Then came 4 minutes that football will never forget. The ball rose high into the English penalty area. Maradona chased it. England's goalkeeper, Peter Shilton, came out too. Shilton was much taller. He could use his hands. Diego had no realistic chance to win the ball in the air. But somehow, the ball went into the net. For 1 second, the world was confused. Then, the English players shouted in anger. Diego had used his left hand. He had punched the ball past the goalkeeper. The referee did not see it. The goal counted. Argentina led 1-0. Later, Maradona described it with one of the most famous phrases in football. A little with the head of Maradona, and a little with the hand of God. The hand of God. To many English fans, it was cheating, clear, deliberate, and unforgivable. To many Argentines, it felt like something different. It felt like revenge, or justice, or a small country laughing at a powerful one. That does not make the handball fair, but it helps explain why the moment became larger than the rules. Maradona had shown his trickster side. Then, only a few minutes later, he showed his genius. Diego received the ball deep inside Argentina's half. There was still more than half the field in front of him. At first, nothing looked special. He took the ball and turned. One English player came toward him. Diego moved past him. A second player tried to stop him. Diego escaped again. Now the crowd began to rise. They could feel something strange happening. A third defender came. Then a fourth. Diego kept running. The ball stayed close to his foot, never too far, never too slow. It was as if the ball was part of his body. He moved with speed, but also with control. He was not simply running. He was writing a sentence on the field, and every defender was a word he passed. Now he was near the penalty area. The goalkeeper came out. Diego moved slightly to the left. The goalkeeper fell. With one calm touch, Diego pushed the ball into the empty net. Goal. The stadium exploded. He had run nearly 60 meters. He had beaten 5 English players. He had scored one of the most beautiful goals ever seen. Later, fans around the world voted it the goal of the century. Think about the strange truth of those 4 minutes. First, one of the most controversial goals in football history. Then, one of the greatest goals in football history. The ugly and the beautiful, the cheat and the artist, the sinner and the saint. Both were Diego. Argentina beat England and continued through the tournament. In the semi-final, Maradona was brilliant again against Belgium. In the final, Argentina faced West Germany. The match was difficult, but Maradona still found the key pass that helped create the winning goal. Argentina won the 1986 World Cup. People often call it Maradona's World Cup because one man seemed to carry a nation on his shoulders. Of course, he had teammates. Football is never truly one person. But emotionally, symbolically, and creatively, Mexico 1986 belonged to Diego. He had climbed from the dirt roads of Villa Fiorito to the highest point in football. But the top of a mountain can be a lonely place. In Naples, away from the field, fame became heavy. Everywhere Diego went, people wanted him. They wanted photos, miracles, goals, smiles, time, and love. He could not live a normal day. He could not simply walk down the street as an ordinary man. The world wanted Maradona the god. But inside the god was still Diego, the boy who had once held a ball because it was the only thing he could truly control. He found a false escape in cocaine. The drug promised freedom, but it slowly took freedom away. He also moved close to dangerous people in Naples, including powerful crime figures. The higher he rose, the more trapped he became. In 1991, he failed a drug test and was banned from football for more than a year. The city that had loved him like a god now watched him fall. He returned to Argentina. He tried to come back. He tried to find the old joy again. In 1994, there was one last flash of the old magic. At the World Cup in the United States, Diego looked fit and sharp. Against Greece, he scored a beautiful goal. He struck the ball into the top corner and then ran toward the television camera. His eyes were wide. His mouth was open. He screamed into the lens with wild energy. It became one of the most haunting images in World Cup history. A few days later, he failed another drug test and was sent home from the tournament. That goal against Greece was his final goal for Argentina. The story that began with a boy and a ball had reached a painful public collapse. After his playing career, Diego Maradona continued to live under the weight of his own name. There were health problems. There were hospital visits. There were moments when fans feared he might not survive. The body remembers what life does to it. The boy, who once seemed too quick for defenders, could not always outrun his own pain. And yet, through all of it, people kept loving him. In Argentina, they loved him because he gave them 1986. He gave them pride. He gave poor people a face on the world stage. He showed that a small boy from a forgotten place could become the center of the universe. In Naples, they loved him because he made the city feel seen. He did not only win matches, he helped people stand taller. He told them, with his football, that they mattered. Across the world, people loved him not because he was perfect, but because he was not. Diego once said that he was black or white, never gray. That was true. He lived with extremes, extreme talent, extreme emotion, extreme love, extreme mistakes. He gave the world joy, but he also showed us the danger of turning a human being into a god. No person can live safely inside a legend forever. A crowd can lift a player, but it can also trap him. Fame can shine like sunlight, but it can also burn. On November 25, 2020, Diego Maradona died at the age of 60. Argentina declared 3 days of national mourning. In Buenos Aires, people filled the streets. In Naples, candles appeared below murals. Flowers covered his painted face. The world did not only say goodbye to a footballer, it said goodbye to Diego. the poor child, the angry teenager, the champion, the trickster, the genius, the broken man, the hero who could never be simple. So what can we learn from his story? Maybe we learn that greatness can come from places the world ignores. Maybe we learn that talent needs care, not only applause. Maybe we learn that every person carries light and shadow together. Maradona's story asks us not to look away from either side. Remember the little boy in Villa Fiorito? Remember him asleep with a football in his arms. He did not know the future. He did not know about World Cups, Napoli, murals, or millions of voices chanting his name. He only knew that he loved the ball. And sometimes, one small love can become the beginning of everything. Thank you for listening to this English story. If this story helped you practice English, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and write a comment below. Which moment in Maradona's life moved you the most? Was it the poor boy with the ball? Was it the teenager crying after missing the 1978 World Cup? Was it the hand of God? Was it the goal of the century? Or was it the city of Naples loving him even after everything? Tell us your answer in the comments. And remember, you do not have to be perfect to matter. You do not have to be flawless to be loved. Sometimes, the people who are most broken give the world the most unforgettable beauty.